A few days before Lunar New Year, I saw two figures standing outside the outhouse where my grandmother was alone. Snow covered the yard, but when I ran outside, there was no one there, and not a single footprint except my own. I might have accepted that I was mistaken. Then Grandma looked at me and asked, "So you saw them too?" This happened in early 2015. We had already booked a winter trip, but during dinner my father suddenly said he wanted to visit his parents in the countryside. He had dreamed about his mother the night before. In the dream, she looked tired and said she was not feeling well. She said she was fine on the phone, but my father could not let the dream go. My mother canceled the trip. We bought some holiday food, and the next morning we began the 6-hour drive to my grandparents' village. They lived in an old cave-style house built into a hillside with a small courtyard and several trees my father remembered from childhood. Grandma was happy to see us, but she was weaker than I remembered. Her legs moved slowly, and one foot dragged when she walked. That evening, heavy snow began to fall. While everyone talked in the warm main room, Grandma said she needed to use the toilet. The outhouse stood in the far corner of the courtyard, so my father asked me to help her across the snow. I held her arm until she reached the door. She told me not to wait outside. "I'll call when I'm done," she said. I returned to the house and sat beside the window. About 20 minutes passed before I looked toward the outhouse again. Two dark figures were standing outside the door. One was tall. The other barely reached the taller figure's shoulder. Neither moved. They seemed to be waiting for the door to open. I thought strangers had entered the yard, so I rushed outside. My father and grandfather followed. By the time we reached the outhouse, the figures were gone. My grandfather checked the wall and the gate. The gate was still bolted from the inside. Then I looked down. Fresh snow covered the courtyard. My footprints ran from the house to the outhouse. My father's and grandfather's followed behind. There were no prints where the two figures had stood. My father said I had mistaken shadows for people. He and Grandpa returned inside, but I stayed near the door, staring at the untouched snow. A moment later, Grandma called my name. I helped her out and asked if she had sensed anyone nearby. She stopped walking. Then she asked, "Were there two of them?" I described the tall figure and the shorter one. Grandma did not look surprised. She said she had been seeing them for several days near the road, behind the courtyard wall, sometimes outside her window. She believed they were the kind of visitors older villagers spoke about, quietly figures who appeared when someone's time was close. I told her not to say that. She only smiled and asked me to help her inside. That night I slept beside her. She talked for hours about my father as a child, the house when it was new, and people in the village who had been gone for years. Whenever the wind touched the window, I looked up, expecting to see two shapes beyond the glass. We stayed until the 6th day of the holiday. Snow was falling again when we left. Grandma walked farther down the road than she should have and refused to turn back until our car disappeared around the bend. That was the last time I saw her. A little over a month later, my father received the call that she had passed away. Maybe the figures were shadows, and maybe my father's dream was only a dream. But Grandma knew there were two of them before I told her. And in that courtyard, the snow beneath them had never been touched. Subscribe to Mistcurrent stories for more unexplained encounters, strange local legends, and mysteries with no clear answer.